We are now joined by Mets play-by-play announcer here on SNY, Gary Cohen. And Gary, most of us fans know the face and, of course, the voice of Vin Scully. But in all your years covering Major League Baseball, obviously you had a chance to meet Vin Scully, spend time with Vin Scully. So what were your immediate reactions when you heard the news that Vin Scully had passed away?
Well, you know, Eamon, every profession, every walk of life has its ne plus ultra, as Vin would have put it. He was a student of Latin. He was the ultimate. There's nobody who has ever sat behind a microphone and called a sporting event who has ever held a candle to Vin Scully. He was in a class by himself, and every event that he was a part of, he brought joy to anybody who was listening. He was erudite, he was economical, he was lyrical, he had a great sense of the moment. He was simply the best at his craft that there has ever been. And you layer that with the fact that he was the nicest man that you can possibly imagine. He was so giving of his time. He was so energetic in his welcoming of younger broadcasters. I remember the first time that I met Vin. I was just a kid starting out with the Mets, and he had, at that point, been a big league broadcaster for 35 years. And he could not have been more welcoming and genuinely affectionate towards somebody who was just starting out in his business. He was what we all aspire to be, not just the best at our craft, but as good a person as we can possibly be. And he will be missed. He had the greatest of lives, and I'm sorry for his passing, because the generations to come will not be as fortunate as we were to be able to listen to Vin on a regular basis and to make his acquaintance and be in his company. There just was nobody better.
As you said, an amazing life and certainly an amazing career. We could be here and go on and on, all the famous calls. But, of course, in New York City and for Met fans, the most famous call is Game 6. That would be a memorable call almost no matter who was behind the mic. But as a fellow broadcaster and a premier broadcaster now in baseball, as you watch that call again and as you watched it live, sort of how is that the perfect call by Vin Scully on the ground ball by Mookie Wilson?
Well, it wasn't just the way it finished. It was the way that the inning built, and that's what Vin was the master of. I mean, it was a game that was supposed to end the Mets season, and, there are 2 out in the bottom of the 10th, and they're down by 2 runs, and the season's over, and he's preparing to make a World Series ending call that celebrates the end of the Red Sox World Series drought that at that point had gone on for 7 decades, but was able to build the moment, turn on a dime, and bring you the incredible gravity of the moment in the perfect number of words, and then stay silent after the play was over and allow you to absorb the moment. But, he always had the perfect touch to whatever the moment was, and that was just one of them. Vin, very late in his life, in fact, I think after he retired, found a new home on Twitter and would put out Twitter videos from time to time. And the last one that I saw actually described what he described as the most emotional home run he's ever called. And it wasn't the Kirk Gibson home run or any of the other ones you would have thought of. It was a young man named Larry Miggins, who was a high school classmate of his. And he recalled sitting in the back of an auditorium in high school and talking to Larry Miggins, who aspired to be a Major League Baseball player, and Vinny aspiring to be a major league broadcaster. And in the early 50s, he's broadcasting a game for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and who comes up for the St. Louis Cardinals but Larry Miggins. And Vin got to call the first major league home run of his high school classmate. And he said that was the most emotional moment he'd ever had on the air. And, you know, even at age 94, he was able to tell that story in a way that really made you understand all of the nuances of the meaning of it for him, and what a special moment it was for him 70 years later. And that's what he was able to bring to everything that he did, whether it was in the moment or a reminiscence about something that had happened earlier, and the way he was able to weave stories in the midst of games. He was just a special, special guy.
What an amazing moment that must have been, a Fordham Prep grad calling a Major League home run of a Fordham Prep grad. Gary Cohen, thank you so much for joining us here on Geico Sports Night for more on the amazing life of Vin Scully. We really appreciate your time, Gary.
Thanks for having me, Eamon.
Again, Vin Scully, the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers and so many memorable Major League Baseball moments and football moments, has passed away at the age of 94.